Chapter 13, Albert's Journal of the Universe. 13th entry. Visions of an Enlightened Society.
September 2nd, 2045. Continued. Along the path to wisdom, we meet many other spirits that are learning also. These spirits take on many forms. Tip, Tap, Guardian, and Prancer chose to be with Moonbeam even without the knowledge of the whole scope of her role in this life. There were many banyan trees around her now, although Moonbeam has not felt the invitation from any of the trees that would allow her to cut a vine from them. Hibiscus flowers are abundant also. Not just any hibiscus flower will suffice, as she looked for a divine hibiscus bush with sacred origins. One day, as Moonbeam was traveling with her companions, she heard a large roar coming from the sky. From out of the clouds, a large flying metal bird with fire coming out of its underbelly headed towards them. Lights flickered all around the metal bird as it landed in a field near Moonbeam. The bird opened up a giant mouth after landing. A beautiful woman came out of the mouth. She walked towards Moonbeam carrying a gift. Then she spoke to Moonbeam. "What I am going to give you is a prize that has a sharp edge. It can be used to carve out the most advanced society known, or it can cut the ties that bind men together, laying waste to man. How you use this gift is up to you. I am called Ixchel of the essence love. Many have mistaken me for a goddess, although I am just a star sister here to help man. Here is what you will call civilization. The structures you see on this gift were created by man with the assistance of my star brothers. They only represent the wonders of man's achievement. The true gift is love that will bind the civilization together. Without love, man will destroy themselves, leaving the structures behind. This gift of love is already within man. What I offer is what is needed to cultivate that love so man can use civilization as a benefit. You have been chosen to deliver this gift of love to the Mayan civilization that you will soon encounter. They teeter on the edge of returning to the stars or destroying themselves. We wish for them to come back into the cosmic fold." Moonbeam could feel the sincerity in Ixchel. Is this the destined meeting with the star being Maso using another name? "I am not Masao," Ixchel answered Moonbeam's thoughts. "Your destiny awaits, as this is just a passing moment. The gift of love is your natural essence. You need only remind the Mayans of their true nature. Place this gift of civilization, becoming civil, in your heart center, knowing that violations of natural law or decivilization or uncivilized, anything that is not centered in the love vibration, will only bring harm." Ixchel returned to the metallic bird that took off with a roar of fire. It moved so quickly that it was gone in an instant. Moonbeam put the physical representation of civilization that Ixchel gave her in her magical pouch. The matter vanished once inside the pouch. Guardian took flight to search for the structures shown by Ixchel. Moonbeam joined Guardian in his mind's eye, seeing all that Guardian sees. From the eagle's higher perspective, the civilization was easy to spot. Guardian made one pass through the skies of this city of man. Moonbeam could not comprehend the amount of negative energy permeating the air. Energy was all chaotic. At one point, stones were thrown at Guardian in an effort to bring us harm. These malicious motives, negative energies, are contrary to civilization. The city was not far. Moonbeam, Prance, Tip, and Tap would make there on land by darkness. Guardian found a roost where he could view how man behaved gathered in massive numbers. They entered the Mayan city with ease. Visitors are welcomed here as a guiding rule. Moonbeam quickly noticed that this was a mixing bowl of energy vortexes carrying power from all over to mix in with the Mayans. Each man-woman had their own culture with a defining syllable cult that they desperately held on to. Most inhabitants seemed to be stuck or stalled by all the conflicting energy generated. Moonbeam's path was clear. She went in search of the city's shamans. She would know them when she sees them. Many Mayans turned to look at Moonbeam with her animal friends. Prance walked side by side with her. She did not need any types of restraints, as Prance was with her of his own free will. Tip and Tap ran up and down Moonbeam as they walked along. What a sight for the children. They spotted her better than the adults. The marketplace was crowded with people. The shops had food from many places. One shop had beautiful birds, all caged in decorative styles, although you can make slavery look nice, but it is still slavery. Buying or selling nature's beings for personal gain made Moonbeam cringe. What kind of place is this? As they neared the housing habitats, a small dog was being thrown about by an irate man. He had no use for the small dog, so he threw him out. He was too small to eat, so in a way that saved his life. He was lucky that Moonbeam saw the whole event. The small dog was injured from the abusive treatment he had just encountered, yet he perked up when he saw Moonbeam. Help had arrived, his instinct knew as he wagged his tail with excitement. Moonbeam placed the small, injured animal in her warm bearskin after treating his injuries. His will to live was amazing as he mended. He would be called Willie Willpower. The chipmunks cuddled with Willie as he rested. They shared their playful energy with him. The now enlarged team of journeyers found a wise shaman in a place for drink. He did not hold a position of importance with the people as Moonbeam expected. He was alone, alertly watchful of his environment. His attention was drawn to Moonbeam as if recognition had pleasantly alarmed him when he first spotted her. Stories were shared, even with the vast difference in their spoken languages. Communication was more of a projection of visions from one mind to another. This was like Moonbeam's connection with Guardian. Moonbeam's visions showed her how this ancient city had come to be in the state condition that it was in. Cultures were loved and welcomed with only one rule of law. That rule of law was hijacked by man as the disorder of contrary behavior infiltrated this fine city with those that could nod wisely while speaking stupidly. Many play at being a shaman, so the high esteem of a shaman is held by impostors. Any true shaman would not dabble in manipulation for personal gain. The remaining record keepers here all await the harvesting of this prison, as the reptilians feed on this negative energy. At the time of the harvest, some of us will return to our star families. The shaman spoke verbally, this harvest is not necessary. With your arrival it can be altered. Many more of us will return home in the heavens. You have the gift from Ixchel to bring to the city. The words that she shared can turn the tides, so we can all move on. Moonbeam agreed to stay in the city for 2 cycles of the solstice or 1 year before returning to the Hopi. In this year many changes took place in the Mayan city. Moonbeam's stories were shared by all with the ending catchphrase, in order to be a civilization we must first be civil. Natural law was reintroduced as the only law. For those that suffered from illusions of power or control over others, they were finally becoming unacceptable. Most of them changed when reminded of who they are, and that the universe provided an abundance of energy. They did not have to take energy from our fellow beings in this shared existence. Communication improved among the many cultures. Common denominators created a new culture that allowed for individual culture to still be nurtured. Culture dogma was no longer a cult but a cherished uniqueness. A new paradigm had taken root in this society in just 1 year. Trust had to be earned, proven with thought then action. The natural trust agreement we have is with nature should be honored as the prime trust. This trust was our contract we made when we agreed to take part in this life experience. Our second trust agreement was with our parents who do not always live up to this trust. The next trust is with society, although if society is already in breach of prime trust, then free will allows choice. Breach of trust is not worthy of support energy. The most powerful trust we have is with ourselves. This is the one that determines if we will honor anything. This is also the trust that determines the perimeters of any trust. The bully mentality quickly became impotent, slithering away into the dustbins. Energy given freely without force or coercion is sacred, and the universe has an abundance to share. The shaman Versatile became close to Moonbeam in this transition time. The city was healing quickly. Soon Moonbeam would return in her final direction on her own transition journey. Before she left, she was given a beautiful hibiscus flower preserved under a see-through shell that is airtight. The flower would maintain its beauty and not wilt. She was also gifted with a braided rope, made from the strongest and biggest banyan tree in all the land. The gifts came from the people who heard Moonbeam's story, also from the plants who produced the value. Moonbeam was grateful to all. There was a great crowd there at Moonbeam's time of departure. Many witnessed her place her gifts in her magical pouch. The gifts seemed to disappear. These magical events that were so natural to Moonbeam became the start of legends. They left the Mayan people in awe and wonder. Little Willie Willpower returned with Moonbeam, Prance, Guardian, Tip and Tap. Versatile would come to visit them with the Hopi family. Willie was the early warning sign of anything new. He would dance with Tip or Tap, barking and panting, then place his tiny head on them, hugging them for the playful banter. His perky ears with sensitive nose had him in constant surveillance mode. His ability or superpower was spotting danger. If there is no danger, he would bark and show his bravery. Once he stepped on a leaf that stuck to his foot, he growled frantically at first, shaking his leg to get it off of him. When he finally got the leaf off his foot, he ran around the leaf barking. He would lunge at the leaf, then draw back, giving bark commands. There wasn't a leaf in any forest that would mess with Willie after he was through. With real danger, he would just growl in a whisper tone. On the path back, Guardian warned Moonbeam of a mountain lion that was tracking them. Any one of the small critters would make a good appetizer for this animal. It is best to avoid confrontation with caution, along with prepared awareness. Willie was on high alert as usual. In his mind, he was the group protector, although he played as if nothing could happen. The travelers used shadows to mark the direction they would take. As always, Guardian would fly ahead to find the easiest passage route. The mountain lion used the shadows in a different way. She moved within the darkness of the shadows to stalk her dinner. The lion moved about the trees and forest stealthily, quietly approaching the small group of travelers. Her movements were hard to follow, although. Willie was always the first to notice the lion's close proximity. A whispering growl followed by commanding barks alerted us as the lion made its move. Moonbeam stood firmly grounded as the mountain lion circled them. Tip and Tap hid themselves within the arms of the bearskin. They would jump out as feral chipmunks for surprise if needed. Reaching into her pouch, Moonbeam spoke with comforting certainty. "You look hungry, my feline friend." She pulled out a fresh fish from her magical pouch. "Here. This fish is ready for you. This is the fish's higher purpose. It needs to move on. Our time is not upon us yet. Only you can determine if it is your time to move on." Moonbeam gently tossed the fish to the mountain lion, who only took a moment to devour it. Her piercing eyes never left Moonbeam. Willie was in whisper growl mode. Pulling another larger fish out of her pouch, Moonbeam continued her trust agreement with the mountain lion. This agreement would need both parties to act as grantors. The mountain lion would grant safe passage, then he must become the trustee of the trust to ensure that the trust be carried out. The beneficiaries are Moonbeam and her companions. Moonbeam was granting the same safe passage for the mountain lion, with Moonbeam becoming the trustee. The trust contract was settled with the acceptance of the second fish acting as settler. Tip, Tap, Prance, Guardian, and Will were all witnesses. They were all cautious with the mountain lion breaching the trust. However, the lion proved honorable, leaving the group alone. With a full belly, he made his departure, never to return. This was all done without placing pen to paper. Very little spoken words were needed to make the contract. Most of the negotiations took place at a higher level of communication. For the rest of the journey back to Moonbeam's Hopi familiars, everything went smoothly. They would arrive in just a few more sun cycles. The whole tribe was out to greet Moonbeam upon her return. Her parents' birth givers, Soaring Eagle and Pachamama, could see the new light that Moonbeam brought with her. The whole village would tell the story of Moonbeam's journey into adulthood, how she fulfilled her tasks, using her center to speak directly with Gaia. Not long after her return, Moonbeam with her now complete spirit group had their encounter with Mosa. She came from the heavens in a beam of light, appearing to the whole village. Mosa motioned for Moonbeam with her familiars to come with her. They followed her into a cave which opened up into a vast natural cathedral that was close in resemblance to the home that Lazarus welcomed us to at our return to Source. Stalactites hung from the ceilings of this great cathedral, with some touching the ground below us like great pillars. Illumination came from out of nowhere as Moonbeam entered. Stories of the universe filled the minds of the spirit group. Our Dream Vacation spirit group learned knowledge from our lives as we thanked Moonbeam for sharing her experiences with us. In this timeline, many events happened different from the timeline that our spirit group of Dream Vacations are living in back at the Use Lab in Utopia. The greatest change is with the way society here developed into a civilization. Within the teaching of natural law, the people learned that we are all familiars family with a purpose. Conquering armies run by psychopathic logic held little influence in the global mindset. Paying taxes to bullying armies just to keep them from killing was never accepted. When the Europeans came to Turtle Island, America, in this timeline the native Indians never warred with them. The only treaties that were accepted never made a transition from mind to ink with paper. The unnatural, greedy bullies that claimed, then took what they wanted, were treated as diseased beings that needed cured. How do you treat a single cell in an organism if that cell believes it is greater than the organism? We watched from our vantage outside perspective how this timeline handled the arrival of the settlers and the invasion of Turtle Island. Moonbeam journeys were common stories that had been passed down for many generations. Most all knew of the infectious mind disease that had temporarily taken hold of the Mayan village, how the village was saved with the return to natural law. Common sense is the sense that we all hold in common with natural law. We have to tune all of our senses that we hold in common. Many of the European arrivals knew natural law because it is part of our heart center, that when touched brings in further recognitions. Once the heart center becomes the guiding force within any being, then natural law takes hold. Communication developed with a curing intention. Words with double meanings used to separate class or stature of place someone in illusionary debt slaves were quickly spotted. Many of the settlers had just left behind a land of kings and queens that have formed plantations full of servants called serfs. They are aware how the selfish childlike bullying of these so-called monarchs caused chaos among the populace. They were escaping from that crazy world of claims with usury forced upon them. This was a fresh start in a new land full of societies that have taken on a more conducive flow with nature. Merit was earned by actions, not bloodlines or status. The concepts of government evolved distinctively. An infectious mindset spread rapidly across this new territory as individuals arrived to establish their own dominions, empowered by other conquerors with selfish motives, bestowing lands to which they had no rightful claim. Land grants by conquering forces were scorned, as was the exploitation of the native inhabitants and those who adhered to natural law. Orchestration centers were set up in replacement of governments. These centers' first concerns are the health of Gaia with the guides in natural law. They brought the four main races together to share knowledge, as was designed with the splitting of the races in ancient times. The learned knowledge is used for healing purposes, as the concept of war is not even an option. Technology progressed rapidly. As needs arose, the answers were always in the genius of the people. Any idea that brought value was nurtured into existence. Profit was not the governing factor in decision-making. Thoughts or ideas can travel faster than anything known to exist. It only takes a willingness to receive information that comes with not knowing, asking, tuning in. The other timelines did not live this history or story, although the neural network that connects all now have the spark needed to envision life with a different paradigm. While we relived Moonbeam's journey and timeline, our spirit group vacations played with the concepts that we were being reminded of. Mankind has reached ages of wonder many times with shared wisdom from all over creation. Civilizations rise to greatness, then eventually fall. In our prime reality back in the use lab, our society is on one of those peaks. Can 10 million years of learning move man past this hiccup that creates destruction? Our dream vacation was almost over as we decided that our day was over and rest was welcomed. More answers to our questions would come to us after a much-needed slumber, where we will gain a fresh perspective of what we are witnessing. To dream within a dream. Much like the cone of probability that illustrates a hurricane's path, the future can be predicted based on its current location and past trajectory. Just as shifting conditions can change the direction of a hurricane, they can also alter the course of our timeline. Our actions have an impact on the direction our future will take. It is crucial to make wise choices to ensure a better tomorrow. Numerous types of trust agreements exist, and such agreements are formed with everything and everyone we encounter. Continuously, we engage in small, unspoken contracts with the world around us. Giving due consideration is essential to all contracts and is necessary for a harmonious existence.
Thank you once again for watching these videos. It appears we have a significant impact on our collective future. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. You can also explore quasiversecomicbooks.com and check out TeePublic Quasiverse Comics collectibles for memorabilia.